Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Jay and Tim. Timbo. Tim. What's up, gentlemen?
Yo. Like we said last week, we've got two Tims in rotation now, so we've got to specify. You know?
Well, when I listen to the podcast the weeks that I'm not on, and then I just hear, and we got Tim from Kyle, I just have a visceral reaction because I'm like, I don't remember this. Wrong one.
Wait. Well, I guess we'll call you Timbo or the Canadian glider.
Canadian glider already exists. Canadian glider.
What is it that you're sewing there, Tim? I'm actually a little bit impressed.
I can't show it on the screen, but
Okay.
Our engineering faculty, we have jerseys.
Okay.
And then so we have like conferences and patches galore. So I'm just throwing patches on. I mean, I could show you these ones, but they're just like little patches that we put on.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
We do like every university has their own ones they make, and then I just get other ones online and stuff, and then we trade them.
Yeah. That's like we used to do that in Scouts, in the Boy Scouts. As you would go to the jamborees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the other Scouts from Canada and everywhere would come down, and we would trade patches and pins, and I like that stuff. Something we did. A lot. I forgot what it was. Some group I was with when I was young. We went to Europe, and we did it there too. Like it was some big group gathering, and we all traded little, like we had like a little American flag pins, and then the Spanish had they had soccer balls on, and stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
Let's see if I can show. But I have these patches here. I got them in Europe. One of them's the Berlin Fire Department, and I got a couple other ones I can't read. But
that stuff's super cool. I like that stuff. I mean that's in our nature, right? This is the group. Like we are a bunch of collectors. Like this is the group to talk to about that stuff. Right?
Literally what we do. Yeah.
And it taught me to. And both my grandmothers have approved my stitching. So, hooray!
Oh, that's top notch.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for is your grandmother's approval. You're living life when that happens.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I gotta get energized here, Kyle. Come on, I'm really draining.
I'm very excited because we got a preview for Asajj Ventress, which, for those that are curious, is slated to come out on March 17th. And if she comes out on that day, they have said that she will be legal for the World Championships because there is no more 11-day rule anymore. And that is 6 days before Worlds?
Yeah.
So plenty of time.
Yep.
It's depending on when you're traveling, obviously, but plenty of time to pick her up and paint her.
Dude, whatever one of you madmen bring her to Worlds, I will applaud you and give you a hearty handshake.
I am strongly considering it. We can talk about some list ideas when we get to it.
All right.
As soon as I saw this unit card, I'm like, I know exactly what to do with this.
The dice pool alone is ridiculous.
No, I mean, I think it's not clear. We'll get to it. It's not clear to me that she's better than Maul. I don't think she's overpowered. Let's put it that way.
No.
But besides Asajj, Jay, you attended the tournament this weekend, the Nick Bodnar Appreciation Tournament, which was won by Nick Bodnar.
I mean, by SOS. I think it was point.
We can talk. We can talk about the results. But first, do you have some housekeeping for us?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you that don't know, we've talked about it a few times on here. We are officially putting out a magazine. Issue 1 is out, and we just got more in of issue 1, and we're fulfilling back orders on issue 1 now. And issue 2 will be coming out. I believe I have it releasing the week of the 20th, so I think it's like the 22nd or something. I don't remember what day we have it releasing, but so that's coming out as well. You can get digital version, you can get the paper version, or print version, and I'm really excited about this. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and so I'm really glad that we're finally doing it. Everyone seems really excited about it. I don't know. I've just been happy with the results and the quality that we've been able to get out of the magazine. The writing staff has been amazing. Kyle and Lucas and Evan have been doing some great work. So it's really cool. And this issue in February, we actually expanded it. And we have a painting guide in there, and we have like a new game mode that we're doing called Heroes of the Galaxy that's going to be like on a little grid sheet that's going to come in the magazine, and I'm really excited about that because I think that's like the way I designed it, it's just a really neat way that you can just take some of your heroes and you can play against each other like in between games of Legion and stuff. It's quick. It's like under, I think one of the missions was like 30 minutes and one was like 25, so it's like it's quick to play and easy to travel with. So yeah, I'm really excited about continuing doing this and expanding the magazine and doing more and more. A lot of the community has reached out wanting to like offer support and different game modes and all kinds of stuff. So I think we might take them up on some of those offers and start featuring more, a wider breadth of things in the magazine. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Other than that, I think so you guys will be listening to this on Tuesday. So on Wednesday at I think, hold on, let me just double check the time. I'll put a thing up on our Facebook and everything too, but on Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Evan and I are going to start a new podcast. Well, old new, but the Fifth Tile podcast, which is talking about other games and stuff. And our plan is to basically do it live on Twitch each week, hopefully, and then just record it and then make the audio and video recordings available on the regular podcast channels and then on YouTube. And so, but you could come join us live. Hopefully it'll be every Wednesday. This will be our first one, and then we'll get a schedule going. But yeah, so if you guys want to join us for that, that'll be on our Twitch channel. It's the Fifth Trooper on Twitch. So we're gonna try it. I'm an old man when it comes to Twitch, so I don't really know all the beep boops and buttons and the doodads, but we're gonna take a run at it and see how it goes. So yeah.
Awesome. And if you like any of that stuff, you can support us on Patreon.
Yeah.
thefifthtrooper.com/ no, that's not right. Patreon.com/thefifthtrooper.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. I know some of you have asked, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. That's the name of the podcast, but we are part of the Fifth Trooper as a larger whole. So if that's confusing to anyone.
It's all, yeah. We're part of the Fifth Trooper Network. If
Yeah.
you want to support this podcast on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/thefifthtrooper.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
it's all because you're supporting the blogs and all the
right.
writers and the magazine. All that stuff is all the content we create supported through the Patreon. So yeah,
yep. And the store.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Well, how do we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's.
So in Schenectady, did I say that right?
Nope. Just okay. Schenectady.
Schenectady?
Yep.
Okay. Schenectady, New York. There was a tournament this weekend. 34 people?
34. Yeah. I think it was originally supposed to be like 38, but yeah, we ended up with 34. A lot of great people. Evan had designed it as the Nick Bodnar memorial, he called it, which was
appreciation
really
tournament. Memorial is for people that are dead.
No. Oh, I'm aware.
Okay.
When he originally started it, he called it the Nick Bodnar Memorial Tournament. And Nick said, but I'm not dead. And Evan said, oh yeah, I guess it's appreciation then. So that's how that happened. But it was supposed to be, and it was, but it was going to be hey, it's just this chill event. We're gonna drink. There was a bar literally 2 feet from where we were playing Legion.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so you could get drinks, and they had food. It was listen, the food was fine. It wasn't great. It was like, but they had 2 tables set up. One with food, you could buy like burgers, hot dogs, sausages, stuff like that, and then they had a bar, and so like the food and drink like within 3 or 4 feet from the gaming space. So it was really cool.
That's
but
dangerous.
Yeah, it was. Yep. So anyways, so the whole thing was like, hey, it's gonna be this casual fun, pew, pew, we're just all gonna have fun. And then literally like some of the top Legion players in the United States anyways all showed up to the event. So like Dash's Mike was there, who just went number 2 at LVO. Mr. World Champion himself, Luke Cook, was there. Evan played, Nick Bodnar played, Mike Cirillo, Tim Hannon was there from like it's just like a stacked tournament.
Yeah, I looked at that tournament roster and I'm like, I thought this was some like local upstate New York affair, but there's a lot of people that go into this thing.
Yeah. A lot of the guys came out from Boston area. Kodak, who's a really good player. Zach Berry made an appearance. He's like a Yeti or something, He just like
coming out of retirement basically to come. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a great time. I had a miserable time. Because that list that I brought that I talked about before is miserable. It's just miserable to play. I think I joked about it on the last cast that like, yeah, this just gonna be miserable for everyone, and it was. So I ended up going basically 2-1. I played, and I really want to talk about my first games list, and then I played against the Blizzard Force. So my first game. And this really opened my eyes. My opponent first game, Matt, he had a Maul triple Mandalorian list. Dude, I didn't really know how hard they were to kill. And he had force barrier and he had force lift. So basically we had one alley, how we had set it, the table was set up. Where he would have to funnel his army through. And I wasn't, we were setting up and I kind of knew what he had, but I didn't really know what he had. And then I was like, oh, he's going to come through this alley and I'm going to shoot him. And then he had force lift. So like Maul basically was just moving up with this barricade and all the like,
which Mandos, you cannot fit your entire army behind, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so the Mandos were behind it and Maul was behind it. And he had naked pikes, which still sucked. Yep. And so like, so he's just like moving this barricade up, and they've got the shields, so they're shielded too. They're getting like dodges, 1 or 2 dodges. They've got a barricade in front of them, and he's got force barrier. And so like the first couple of turns, my whole army is just like throwing dice, and he's like, dodge, shield, cover 2. You got a crit. Yeah, I'll force barrier that, I guess. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm never gonna kill these guys. And then he made the move he had to make. I think we're playing intercept, and so he. I was overwhelming. I've just got all these B1s that you can't kill, and I'm about to pile them all on the center. So he took 2 of his Mandos and went to flank my rear, because I only had my commander back there. And then he took Maul out from behind the barrier and dove. So he hits one of my B1s, and he killed all but the leader. And so it was 6 wounds. So he got all but the leader and the heal bot. And I literally healed the whole unit back. And then I punched him. And I think I got like 4 wounds in on Maul. And then that was about the time everything started going downhill for him. It was just sheer numbers at that point, right? Like I just kept like healing things back and just shooting and shooting and shooting. But that list was really good, and I think he called it Pepto-Bismol or something like that.
I was literally like, shout out Pepto-Bismol. Yeah. One fun thing about Game Uplink is it's everyone is now doing Twin Gum. Yeah, because they're so prominent. So
yeah. So Pepto-Bismol, go check out the Nick Bobnar. You could go see all the lists, and I was, and Matt played it really great, and I think that's a list to really look out for. Like that is a lot of wound, like just like wound mitigation that they have. It was pretty intense. Like I don't know how other lists would react to that. Like Blizzard Force obviously is its own thing, but like man, it's just like a lot of wounds you got to get through to like even like get to anything, you know.
Yep.
And then like one of the Mandalorians had Rook, so it had like 2 wounds.
Yeah,
And so like
extra one.
I
Yeah.
finally got
Yeah.
it down to just her model, and then I like got a wound. I'm like, yes. And then he's like, nah, she got 2 wounds. I was like, oh my god. But that was a great game, though. You know, the list is miserable, and I'll explain why right now why the list is miserable. So number one, and this is for me. This isn't for everybody, right? For me, why it's miserable is number one, it's hard enough to track giving orders in the right way so that your whole army gets the orders, right? Or in my case, because I listened to Kyle and I put comms relay and link targeting, so one of my B1s didn't have an order, right? It's really hard to do that. In addition, keeping track of all the heals and who to heal and what's died that round is really difficult to keep track of too. And so like as in my head when I was going to play this list and I was joking with people at the event, like I'm like, yeah, no, this is just a press W list. Like, I don't know, you're gonna have to deal with it. And it is, but it's also a lot more mental gymnastics than I thought it was gonna be to try to like
bookkeeping.
Oh my god, yeah. And keeping everyone at range 1 and then figuring out, okay, do I heal like him? Like what's gonna happen this next, like who am I gonna need wounds on? Like, am I okay with this unit losing one guy because I'm not gonna be able to get oh my god. But it's miserable. And I think for my opponents, it was like that Maul thing, right? Like he came in any other army, right? That Maul hit would have been somewhat devastating. But like I explained to someone, like, you know, when you're playing a regular list and you lose like 3 to 4 models out of a unit, you start to get like a panic in the back of your head where you're like, oh man, I got that never even crossed my mind. Like I would get it down to 2 and I even 1 sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Heal bot itself, heal bot from another guy. Like it's just like, bop, 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 bop. So yeah. So then my second game, I played a Blizzard Force against a buddy of ours, James, and he had 3 bikes. He had snows with flame troopers and the red grenades. He had Operative Vader, he had the commander, and then he had the 2 HRUs, right? So basically what he told me, he was looking at your list, Kyle, and he said, yeah, I think I'm going to take one of these bikes out to make these snows a little bit spicier. You know? I believe I want to say he had an extra guy in there too. Is that right, Tim? Did he have an extra?
Snowtroopers. Snowtroopers were 2 snowtroopers. They were flamethrowers, snowtroopers, recon intel, and frags.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, an extra guy.
Yeah, and so anyway, we had disarray. Okay, he got us into disarray because you know it was like hostage and then key positions, and I was like, so I put one of my B1s over in the other disarray, and I kept the rest of my army together. Well, the disarray across from me, he had put his bikes, and he had placed the bikes and then moved them out, and they were in a position where they were in the open. Unheard of, right? In this new rule set. So I decided I was going to Alpha Strike. Round 1, I played the 2-pip orbital strike. I ordered my tank. It barraged double, you know, the red gun double. So it's like cover 1 on the first, cover 2. And then I hit on all the rest, all paint. And then I orbital strike, all hits, cover 1. So 3, all paint on bikes. Like in my head. So this completely deflated me because in my head I saw this and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna erase one of these bikes, maybe 2 bikes this round 1, and then the attrition will be more in my favor and everything. Nope. So then he moved his bikes up. I took like 2 or 3 B1 squads, shot into him like 3 hits, 4 hits. Between like 3 or 4 B1 squads, I think I just barely took down 1 bike. So he still had one in the unit. Like the unit was still there, one model.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And so I was just like, and at this point I was so distraught. I didn't even wasn't even paying attention to the rest of his army at this point. So then he ended up getting his snows up. He did the one with the steady. They ended up moving, move, and then like flamed. And then like his first flame into one of my B1 units, it was like 10 hits, like between all the black and red dice. I was like, what? Like I did. This guy was rolling so much paint, and we're going to talk about dice here in a little bit, but like it was exhausting, like how much paint, right? And so now I'm like down at the one that where dice turn is he moved Vader in to try to get into to my army, and my tank just like backed up and then shot Vader and like basically got him down to one wound in like one shot Vader to one wound, right? But by that time I was already losing all the attrition, and I couldn't get, and then the HRUs were basically just hanging back and just like plinking stuff off. Dude, it was miserable. And so I don't know, somebody asked me if I thought that list was a good counter to Blizzard, and I think it is. I just think he had some really hot dice that like took away like a lot of my like will to live at that point, and then he played a great game. I don't want to take that away from him. He played a really great game, and so then he just snuck up and just started like taking me out, and I couldn't heal fast enough because it's got so much firepower.
Yeah.
But I think if it had gone the other way, if I had erased that bike, I might have erased 2 bike units, then that would have been a completely different game. And we had talked about it afterwards. Goes, yeah, I wouldn't have been half as aggressive with the rest of my army. And then you could have I could have moved up and started like holding the middle. And then, yeah, it just would have been a different game. And so it's just funny how dice games dice can like completely change everything. Right. And then my last game was really funny. Was my opponent had a couple drinks, and we were playing, we're drinking, we're having a good time, we're laughing, and he kept shooting my tank because it was the one thing he could shoot with his army, and he got it up to like 4 wounds like by round 2, and then he kept shooting it, and then what I was doing was I was healing it, and then he go, how many wounds? And I was like, yeah, I got 4 on the tank. He's like, all right, I'm gonna shoot it. But boom, we get a couple crits through. He's playing the what are the
it was Anakin, Padme, Pikes.
Yeah, with the critical one on the phase.
Yeah, well, he's got 2 DC-15s,
Yeah.
a phase 2 mortar, and Echo. So
yeah,
a fair bunch of crit
yeah,
there.
yeah. So he was hitting it with Echo and the DC-15s, getting the crits through, and the tank would take a couple of wounds, but was rolling some decent saves. And then like a little while later, he would go, so how many wounds are on the tank now? And I go, 4. And he would go, what? And then he would like shoot it some more, and then we would go through the whole process where I was healing it, and then he would go, all right, how many wounds are on the tank now? But like 3. And he's like, you just said 4. And I was like, yeah, man, that was like 3 B1s ago. Like
when you have 8 units, each of which has repair too.
Yeah. And so we were laughing about that. Like it was really funny, because then he would start doing it just to like, after every like unit activation, he would be like, all right, how many wounds on the tank? I'm like, 4. So that was funny. That was probably the most fun I had with that list. I think it's a great list. If you guys are in the mindset and you want to torture yourselves, or maybe this isn't torture to you, maybe you like this kind of gameplay, highly recommend running it. It can definitely take a huge beating without you even blinking an eye. It is not for me. I will not play it again. I'm definitely just putting that back on my shelf, and but I had made pit droids, and I made like pit droid alt art cards, and then I made these little like wrenches as the repairs to put on them, because the pit droids are holding wrenches. So that part was fun. Like the making it and getting it to the event was fun. The actual playing it was miserable. Completely and utterly miserable.
But now you know that, right? Like,
yeah.
that's now you've had the experience, and now you know that It's not for you.
Right. And I think I'm pretty sure I knew that going in because I said it was going to be miserable for everyone, and it really was.
Yeah, that's
it
fair.
really was miserable for everyone. So, but yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, so Nick Bodnar took it. Luke Cook came in second, both 5-0.
They were both 5-0, yeah. So Nick was running Rebel Boba, right? Like Rebel Boba,
Yep.
Lando.
He was a Hero
and
Hammer
Din.
list.
Yeah.
No, it was Lando, Cassian, K2, Boba,
Oh, okay.
and then 3 vets at the heavy, 2 Mark IIs, and an FD.
It's pretty impressive that all fits, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the heroes are all like average 110, 105 points, and then
Yeah.
Rebel vets are 74, 38 points to the Mark IIs, and then 72 point FD.
Yeah.
I feel like vets with MK2s are the way to go right now for Rebels. Now that
Yeah.
Dodge spam got wrecked so hard by all the points changes and stuff.
Yeah. Unless you're just filling out core with naked guys.
Right. Yeah. But if you're doing
Yeah.
heavy core heavies, I think
Yeah.
you just want vets and MK2s.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Luke Cook was playing an IG-88 Boba Fett list. So
Well,
with a bunch of shores. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And then this is kind of funny, but Dash he was gonna bring what he did at LVO, but he forgot it at home. So he got to the tournament. So like if you look at his list, it's the name of his list is Sometimes You Leave Your Army at Home, because basically Evan had brought 3 or 4 lists in case people forgot stuff. Like and so he just played like Evan had like a Krennic boss short trooper list that Mike ended up playing, which was funny.
That is funny.
And doing 3-2 with it. Not terrible.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad playing a list that basically somebody else built for you and you weren't planning on playing.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Kodak, Rich O'Brien, he brought Yoda Chewie. He actually I played against him. He beat me with that list in Invader League. It's a really good list. It's got 2 barks, and like, you're like focused on like the murder ball that is Yoda and all this stuff, and then the barks just like sneak around and start doing whatever they want in your backfield. It's a real interesting list. But I think he went like 4-1. So I don't know. It was good to see everybody. Or 3-2. He went 3-2. Rob Kopp was there too. Like it's just like
lots of people.
So stacked.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably stacked weekend. But yeah, I had a great. Go ahead.
Sounds like it was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
I was gonna say the Canadian contingent had a good showing. The 2 people from Ontario, Deanne and Julian, went 4-1. So I was able to beat some battle weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I think probably the same as it was for LVO. A lot of people just trying to wrap their heads around the new rules.
Yeah.
And I think even though it was stacked, it was nice that it was that Evan had it positioned as a like casual.
As a casual, yeah.
So that everybody could kind of just like go, oh, right. That's not how that works. That's right. And like walk things back and then like try to, so that was good. But yeah, good to see everybody, man. It was great seeing that we have such a great crew in this game,
for sure.
I always enjoy seeing everyone. Tons of laughs, tons of drinks, it was great.
I'm not jealous at all.
Yeah, me either. I was getting major FOMO watching all the updates over the course of the weekend. But yeah, there was no way I was going to be able to travel to two tournaments on back-to-back weekends.
What do you mean, Kyle?
Hard nope on that one. I know better than to even ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like it was super fun. So you want to talk real quick before we get to Ventress? You want to talk about just dice? And like,
yeah.
So we can approach this from several angles. We can do kind of your situation, like how to recover from bad dice. We can also do, how do you mitigate dice as a factor in the first place? Like, just assume that you're going to have some bad dice, and how do you work around that?
I think both of those are good. I think so. I would say my first game, he was definitely not the Blizzard Force one, but the other one. He was making a ton of saves early on, right? Even with all those like blocks and all that stuff I was talking about. And we both commented on it, like, wow, man, like
this
really,
is the Mando one.
Yeah. Like, hey, you got some really hot dice right now. And, it wasn't to a point though where it was like, it was more like, it felt more like 70% or 75% versus like 100%.
Yeah.
And so, so it was like, okay, this is in my head at that point. I was like, this is going to balance out. And it did, because by the end of the game, I'm like making all these shots and he's making no blocks and things are just dying. And it just kind of like, it all turned all of a sudden. I just felt like in the Blizzard Force game, I think when you're up against white dice, and I think it's the white dice that kind of puts you in this mental state, right? Where you're like, and you forget sometimes that bikes surge. So you're like, okay, it's white dice. I'm going to have 12 dice of my own, most likely going to get 10 to 11 hits on those 12 dice with the setup that I have with link targeting array and all that, and the fact that gun is critical too. So it's like, and then for you to get more, like all 12, and then for them to block everything on white dice is like, it just puts you in a real tough mental state. So Kyle, if that was you, how would you have handled that mentally? Because I broke down mentally. So
it is hard for anyone in a situation like that, because you kind of feel like nothing that you do matters, right? You're like, man, I just set up this great shot and it literally did nothing. I just set up another one, it literally did nothing. My opponent just moved these up into range of other stuff that I shot it with, and it did nothing. Like, what, what's the point of making decisions?
But yeah, that's exactly what I was saying to myself.
Yeah, but you just have to kind of like get yourself out of that headspace, because situations like that are exceedingly rare and certainly unlikely to continue for the entire game. I know that, like, clearly that's not always the case, and sometimes by the time you have moved past that moment, especially in like a super close game, like it might just be too late. But it might not be. I've seen games like that where you get like crazy dice luck for one player early, and then both players kind of like stay in it, and then it just swings back the opposite way, like huge, in a completely unlikely way, and then the player that was on the receiving end of that bad dice luck initially ends up winning because it swung back.
I think too, for me, with playing those droids, the first game I played, when he attacked, I literally rolled no paint on my droid defense dice that entire game. And it was fine because I had all the heals and it's droids, and you expect that. So going into that, I think I was doing a little bit better, getting like 1 out of 5 or something, which is okay. But it was just like, I came out of that game going, my dice are rolling blanks. He's got white dice. It's going to be blank. And it just wasn't. And then like the following up attacks were all the same. And I'm just going, okay. Like, I don't even know what to do right now. Like, and it was, and I think what happened too is probably a little bit of ego on my part, because the move that Alpha Strike, even he said, like, when I did it, he was like, oh crap, I didn't even see that coming. Oh my God. Like, and then I was like, yeah, you didn't, got you. And then I'll just paint. And I was like, I just wait, like my whole plan, everything, this whole strategy is gone now. Like,
I mean, the way that at least I try to deal with, any situation in game, or, bad dice or whatever, is like, I always try to deal with like any action I take, it does it get me closer to winning. And like, if you have the worst dice luck in the game and you like lose your entire army, well, you can still make like you could have a like 5% chance of winning, but
Yep.
if this next action makes it a 6% chance of winning, well, you've increased your odds of winning.
Yeah.
So it's always trying to keep in that mindset of like I can always do things even if it's a long shot to make my chance of winning better. And then also being that my father is a philosophy professor and I come from a philosophy background and stuff, a lot of people end up falling into the gambler's fallacy, which is that like past results predict future results. So like I often hear about people like, oh, like, you got the dice luck early, then I must get it back. It's like, unfortunately, that's not true. Like basically the dice will be average always from this point on.
Yep.
So you kind of like, and it's gonna happen that dice are bad, but they are gonna regress to the mean.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes occasionally it's like, well, the dice will be average, and like you'll roll everything, I'll roll nothing, and like that actually comes out to average. It's just coming away, whatever.
Yeah. That didn't make me feel better, Tim.
I
Not even in the
I had
slightest.
I had to bring you up and then take you down
Yeah.
too, because
No, but
unfortunately we play a game with dice and
yeah,
it's gambling.
you're absolutely right. And I'll be honest, I lost track of the victory points, not like from a counting perspective,
Yeah.
but from like a getting the victory points, right? And like instead of going, okay, and then just doing what I had to do to make it work, it just like I said, I then took some shots with B1s and then they're not hitting, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening. And then I just like lost track of like what the purpose of anything was
What
anymore.
else was going on?
Yeah.
Tunnel vision a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean at LVO, like I played a list that, had a lot of dodges and stuff. So I just roll like forcing my opponents to shoot at me and then, don't roll any saves, which often can result in people like really feeling weird about your saves. It's like, oh, I've rolled 4 saves and I've made 3 of them. Well, I've only taken 1 wound, but I've only actually rolled 4 saves. But like one of my games, I kept joking, like, I know my dice were pretty hot, right? Like I didn't drop any saves. And then I'm like, well, eventually, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna drop them all. And he like, okay, I gotta roll 3, blank them all out. There goes half a unit. Right? Like you're always like, especially like playing like Red Save or Mandos or whatever, you're always like one big shot away from just wiping the unit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like when you're shooting at Mandos or Red Save units, you gotta always keep thinking it's like, well, I do just need to keep shooting because eventually they will just die. So
I think too, you have to kind of just evaluate each decision like independently based on whatever the new status quo is. Like in your situation, Jay, you double tapped the bikes and they rolled like straight pain. So you had essentially unwounded bikes, and then you still had that bombard card left, right? Yeah. So now I don't know what the situation was looking like with the other disarray zone, but at that point, at least with the bombard, like it's kind of statistically unlikely to kill a bike model, because on average you're going to get roughly 3 hits with that, and then he's going to probably roll 1 save if everything is equal, right? So at that point, you could potentially ask yourself, well, all right, clearly, like I haven't hurt these bikes like I thought I would. I was originally going to use this bombard card to finish off the bikes that I thought I would mostly kill with this barrage, but like maybe now it's better used to like suppress an HRU so it can't move up and shoot, or suppress a snow unit so it can't get closer to my B1s or something.
Yeah. And I got onto that game too late though, right? Like I started suppressing his snows and stuff, so they couldn't come up, but like it was too late. They were already too close, and I tunnel vision, and just man, I lost complete like I lost all control.
I mean, the same thing happens to everybody. I had a game with Vader where like Vader got mulched by a stap. This was my Invader game against Bobette. And basically, like at the tail end of one of the turns, he came up with a stap and he shot Vader, and he did 4 wounds to Vader in 1 shot. I was like, okay, well, this has to change my game plan, and I got like super conservative with Vader. And I think it was actually a mistake to do that, because then he just kind of like chipped away at me while Vader was hiding behind a rock. And like in that situation, it affected my decision making in a way that like maybe it shouldn't have. Like Vader was arguably in a decent position to just be aggressive where he was. And Vader can survive on 3 wounds. He's got tons of cards that give him dodges. Like But because I took that 4 wounds in one shot, I was like, oh man, he's suddenly very fragile. When in reality, he's not any more fragile than like, like in mid game Vader with 3 wounds, which I would have probably been much more aggressive with. So like, yeah, it happens to everybody. You kind of have to just like take it as it comes, and then try and move forward with whatever the current situation is without whatever just happened affecting your decision making.
Yeah, hopefully. For sure.
I know it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's easy to say. It's much harder to actually do.
I mean, it's a classic song, Gambler. You got to know when to hold them, you know when to fold them, right? Like each decision is important in a moment, and then just making sure that you're not letting like gambler's fallacy, past or future odds affect the odds of the current situation.
Yeah, like my opponent too. Like I normally that stuff doesn't really affect me. I'm just like, dice. And but he goes, you like, we're being really nice, but like I could see it in your eyes that like just how disappointed and like broken you were by that. He goes, but you were still like putting on a brave face and trying to like continue. Like I was just like, I did. So for those of you who ever play me, you want to know when I'm agitated is if I go, all right, and I just like set something down and I just like stare at the table. That's when you've beaten Jay mentally. And that's just, and James is such a nice guy, but he was just like, I could see in your eyes.
And you feel bad when you're on the other end of that too. Like when you're the guy who just rolls all paint or whatever. Like it's kind of an awkward situation.
It is. Yeah.
I had a game at LVO where my opponent had Boba Fett, and I had done 1 wound to him previously, and then I shot him with an HRU, and four hits went through, and he rolled his Boba saves, and he rolled 4 blanks.
Yeah,
and we were both sitting there just staring at it like, oh, that okay. Okay, how do like neither of us expected Boba to just biff it and die right there in one shot. And it's like, all right, well, I guess we keep going.
Well, and it's I'm like remembering now like the trajectory of my attitude, because like I did it, and like the first barrage and he rolled the paint, I was like, nice, man, like congrats. Like that's in my head, I'm going, that's
good for you.
Right, that's not going to happen again.
Yep.
4 or 5 more times, and it's just like by that time I was like, oh, I'm completely broken now. Like there's nothing else. I have no will for this anymore. Like I didn't know I could be so easily broken. Like that's just like, oh my God.
It probably didn't help that you were playing what was already like essentially an exhausting list. To run. Where you're spending so much of your mental energy just like performing the basic functions of your list. That
doing accounting.
Yeah, right. That something like that happens in your brain, just like
right, because there was even like a time when he was like
it's like tripping the circuit breaker.
He's like, I thought you were just gonna move into melee with my snows and tie them up. I'm like, I thought about it. And he goes, but why didn't you do it? I go, I don't know. Like literally in my head, I go, I'll just double move and then that'll stop that. And then I don't know what happened. I just never did it. And he's like, yeah, like you set it up for it. And I go, yeah, I sure did. And then I don't know, I just like froze and just like did something else. I don't know why. My brain just like just completely short circuited.
I mean, that happens to everybody. I've had lots of moments like that too, where you get like tunnel vision, and you're like, there's part of your brain where you're like about to move a unit up, and you're like, no, he's got like 3 things there that haven't activated yet. That's like really dangerous. And then you do it anyway, and your brain's like, it'll be fine. And then it's not fine.
Right.
And then you're like, you know what? I knew that was a terrible idea. And then I did it anyway.
Like I knew I had, so we did end up with key positions, and I'm like, all right, I gotta get to that middle key position. And I'm like, I have more guys, and he's not gonna be able to kill them all, so I just need to start going. And I like didn't. I just kept shooting, and I'm just like, what am I like? Why am I doing this? So, anyways, it happens to everyone, I guess.
Yep.
It was miserable though.
I know that's the worst.
Yeah, it's just it was
like
tough.
you expect a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit of swing, but that's unusually bad.
Yeah, for those of you listening, I was telling the boys it was just a rough Legion for me, and I don't know. I was just telling them I was just like miserable every game. Like even my opponents were great. I had a great time with them. I had fun. Everyone was there, but when I was actually playing Legion, I was just utterly miserable. And I don't know the answer. It could be the list. It could be I was tired. I don't know. I don't know. I just was like at one point during that Blizzard Force game, I'm like, I'm not having any fun. Like, none of this is fun. Today is not fun for me. Like, even that win from before, none of this is fun. I am miserable. Like, it's just like, so I don't know. I'm hoping to bounce back. I think for me, I'll never play that droid list again, but I think, if I get my double ATSTs back,
There you
you
go.
know, I'll feel better about life in general. So
Yep.
that's when I'm at my happiest. It's when I have double ATSTs. So, and I think it's because for those of you, if you haven't heard me talk about it, it's the new list I play with the two. I have two dewbacks and the two ATSTs.
Mhm.
It's just like I just put the ATSTs in the front, and I just go, yeah, go ahead. And then they're like, all right, dodge standby with my stormtroopers, so you can't kill them. All right, dodge standby with them. Oh, sniper, yeah. Oh, yeah, I could see. All right, I'll take a shot. And and it's like there's no thought. It's just like, oh yeah, I don't know, try to kill everything. Good luck. There's a million, the two ATSTs and then the dewbacks. Like, I don't know. Good luck.
The way to deal with ATSTs is a little bit of dice luck and putting 8 wounds through with an Anakin fire sported by a Z6 at LVO.
That'll do it.
Well, you're
It
starting with 3 impact and surge crit on a pretty big dice pool there.
Okay.
That's
The sad thing is it had heavy cover. I didn't actually fulfill my entire impact value. It was like you roll it out, and I was expecting 5, 6, 7 if I'm real lucky, and I
Yep.
just sort of roll it out and go roll 8, pierce 3. And it's like one of those things where it's like, and I'd also like put Anakin out in a pretty precarious position to try and like force shots into Anakin. Because I kind of needed to. I was just like, I was in a losing position, needed to little bit lead on dice, and Anakin took a few wounds. Like basically, I ended up trading like ATSD for Anakin plus like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of his other models. Ended up being a pretty good trade, but yeah, it was 8.
Nobody can delete a vehicle like an Anakin saber throw fire support.
Yeah.
Nope. No can do. Speaking of sabers,
should we talk about Ventress?
We should.
Can we, before we get to rules, can we talk about this pose? First of all, I love this miniature. And hopefully I'm not about to ruin it for some people. But the way that she's like holding the lightsabers reminds me of like a WWF wrestler like winding up a chair.
Yeah.
To like crack over somebody's back.
I think that
now that I see it, I can't unsee it. I think this sculpt is great, but for whatever reason, the way that she has her sabers, like I'm just picturing a folding chair behind her back.
Someone needs to put a folding chair in her hands.
Yep, absolutely.
So I actually have an alt sculpt Ventress from before they announced her, and she's like got the sabers behind her, and she's kind of like running forward. That one's kind of my favorite that I've seen out of all the. Like this one's fine.
Yeah, it's good.
I'd like to see like a little bit more dynamic. Listen, these let me praise for AMG here. The models have been beautiful.
They've been very good
that they've been putting out. What I'd like to see, if my only like critique, it's not even like a criticism, just a critique, just something nice, is a little bit more like action or like dynamic posing or like somebody running or like most of it's like them jumping off of tactical rocks or something, I or like doing a pose. I'd like to, that's it. Just not even a criticism, just a want, a request. How about that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna see
that. Like what's that Deadpool one they have? Like that one's so cool.
Some of the MCP sculpts are just absolutely incredible. Now they had the scale's a little different. Like they
yeah.
but even still, Yeah, I think
Anyways.
it's a perfectly fine model. The detail on it's really cool. She's got like a little sash thingy, that's all like textured, so you can actually paint the symbols and stuff on it. So yeah, it looks great. There's some real good possibilities for OSL on this. I look forward to painting it in the 6 days between when I get it and World Championships. But yeah, it's anyway, let's talk about her as a unit, because we got essentially a full preview. There's a unit card in here, all the command cards. Do you want me to just dive in here?
Yeah,
go for it.
All
right. Yeah, I don't usually read the unit cards. This is like different for me.
Yeah.
All right.
You usually assign that to your lessers.
Yeah, right. All right. Asajj, Ventress, Separatist Assassin. She has 150 points. So this is officially the cheapest Force user so far in the game. I think we'll see why in here in a minute. She's got 2 Force slots and 2 training slots, which is exactly the same as Maul. She has jump 2, so she can jump up to height 2, deflect. She has independent dodge 1, which is not nearly as good as defend 1, but we can get into some list ideas that make it almost as good. She has indomitable, like a Wookiee. Immune pierce, of course. Jark high mastery, which is essentially marksman with dodges, but only in melee, as far as we can tell based on this reminder text. While performing a melee attack, you may spend any number of dodge tokens. For each dodge token spent, improve 1 attack die result. This is cool. I like this as a design space concept. Yeah, it's marksman with dodges. And she has relentless. And then she's got 5 health. Courage 2. So those are both on average lower than your average Force user. And then a no surges, either attack or defend, speed 2. And then 8 black dice, lightsaber with impact 2, pierce 2.
Yeah. It's interesting.
First step, get on her into the fray.
You have to take into the fray.
Dude, that card is so good.
Well, it is, but especially like she doesn't surge in either direction, and with the deflect nerf, as far as we can tell, there's no deflect feature here in Jark High Mastery that would exempt it from the deflect nerf like some other masteries. Like you need the surges. So yeah, I think into the fray has to be stapled in one of those 2 training slots. But yeah, indomitable with courage 2 is interesting. I think this is just straight worse than normally having courage 3 without indomitable.
Indomitable courage 2 is because every once in a while you'll have 3 suppression or 4 and just people terrible, or just 2 and just blank out.
It's more like, variance.
Yeah, and getting 2 suppression on the Force user is like, you probably we don't want to, but like that's sort of comfortable area for a lot of Force users. It's like I mean, maybe there's a suppressive punch and then they get like a shot in, or they like take a shot on the way in and then they get a suppressive punch or something at 2, and now she's at risk of not getting 2 actions.
Yeah, that's the primary difference for me, is like the difference between getting a target from 2 to suppression to 3 is I think bigger certainly than getting it from 1 to 2. And like if for most normal Force users that are courage 3 or 4 in Jedi Luke's case, if you only have 2 suppression, there's a 0% chance that you lose an action. But with her now, there's like a decent chance that you lose an action. So and like if Force users lose an action, especially if they're in a position where they have suppression, which means they've probably been shot a couple times, like it's super bad to lose an action as a Force user.
Well, and she also doesn't have any Master of the Force access.
Right.
So like losing an action on her could be a death sentence.
Potentially.
Like if you have Force push down and you need to like move somewhere, Force push somebody into you to be safe, well, you could just maybe not be able to do that at 2 suppression.
Yep. Potentially. Yeah, and 5 health too is super low.
Yeah, I think potentially if you have the space, depending on the list you're running, sees the initiative's not bad on her. for like some of those important turns?
I think you want to just build, because she has independent dodge, I think that you want to essentially just build a list where you reverse sort your entire pool.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Because if you're not getting as much mileage as possible out of that independent dodge, I think she's like super bad.
Yeah, like assuming you take all three of her command cards, although one of them isn't actually played, we'll get to that. Like
Yep.
you should be probably proccing independent dodge 4 turns.
At least 4 turns. And I think let's just talk about her command cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about how you reverse sort in a droid list to actually make this happen.
Yeah.
Why don't one of you guys read the command cards since I did the unit cards?
Which end do you want to start on?
Just go from 1 to 3.
Okay. Easiest to hardest.
Yep.
You got it, buddy.
Cool. 1 pip. The Jedi shall fall. This orders only Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress gains Jedi Hunter, which gives Surge to crit when attacking Force users. While Asajj Ventress performs an attack during the roll attack dice step before rolling dice, she may gain up to 4 suppression tokens. She gains 1 dodge token for each suppression token gained in this way. So up to 4 dodges on a Jedi Force user sounds pretty awesome.
Dodges that you can use for essentially marksman.
and also like, I mean, we'll get to it also when we enter 3 pit, but with that card, she can turn into like a Jedi Hunter completely. Well, like, as it implies.
And now that you don't actually run when you panic, this isn't as scary anymore as it once was. It's still not great.
Yeah. Well,
you can also recover with your second action.
Yeah. Right. So we'll get to. She also has Indomitable, but then
she has a recover card. Yeah.
Yeah. I Am Fear. Oh, again, only orders Asajj Ventress. When Asajj Ventress begins her activation, she recovers. So this would, strip any suppression before she rallies.
Yep.
At the end of Asajj Ventress's activation, she may perform an attack using the following weapon. So this is a melee or range 1 black, surge to crit, suppressive spray weapon. So she gets a flamethrower.
Yep. It's a black dice flamethrower.
Black dice flamethrower.
But
Sorry, go.
Well, it's notable that it's at the end of her activation. So this is in addition to her normal attack. It's not a replacement for it like it would be for Boba Fett.
Yeah. It's in addition. It's also notable as at the end of activation. So she couldn't flamethrower a unit that's like hasn't activated yet and then like force push something else into her.
Yep.
Right. Like if you want her to be safe in melee at the end of the turn, she has to like use this with something in melee with her because it doesn't have versatile or anything.
Yeah.
But that's still right. Like, especially if there's like a squad with like a couple guys that's activated, or you like move into something that's activated, cut them with your saber, force push something into you, like another full squad, and then flamethrower them.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely ways to work around it, but it is notable that she can't like use force push after this, etc.
Yeah, the timing is a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the primary benefit is just the free recovery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and if all it ends up being is like a couple black dice attack into a random squad that you're in melee with, great.
Yep.
I mean, literally, if you get the recover and you put 1 black die into a Jedi you're in like melee with,
yeah,
great.
Could be fine. Yep.
Sweet. So then her 3 pit, and this is the most complicated of all her cards. This is Yes, My Master. So this orders no units, but that isn't really relevant because you must divulge this card, and then it says it stays in play, which is a bit awkward wording.
Yeah, because the rules for divulge say that divulge cards are never played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we assuming this just means that like it's just like it's played, you can't play it again?
It's essentially discarded and the effects are permanent, is how I read this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And you pick it's got the line thing here. Again, maybe we'll get a divulge entry update, but the divulge entry update says that with the line, there's one side of the line that is like if you play this as a normal command card, and then there's another side of the line that's like if you divulge this, but both of these are divulge effects.
Yeah.
So the intent here seems pretty clear. You pick one of these 2 divulge effects. That effect is there for the entire game, and then you don't play the card ever. It just is there, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those two choices, and these are so on top of all the keywords she already has. So the first option is divulge deploy unit step, permanent. Asajj Ventress gains bounty and reinforcements. So a force user that can also claim bounties is
That seems good.
really good. And reinforcements with her is actually pretty decent because she's actually something with like that could get reinforcements that you do want to put down last.
Yep.
So there's that. And then the other option is again divulge deploy unit step permanent. Asajj Ventress gains demoralize 1, which is throw a suppression on enemy unit within range 1 to 2.
What
right?
was the buzzer there? Is it like
That's
your buzzer?
just my phone just buzzing. It's fine.
Okay. I thought it was like, Tim, you're talking too long.
Yeah, I was busting him off. I gotta get like one of those hooks.
Yeah.
Okay, so on demoralize 1, on top of that, we also get Makashi Mastery, which is what Dooku has, which is like reduce your pierce value by 1, and you get to ignore impervious or immune pierce, and
Super
then
good.
also which is also super good, and then also outmaneuvered,
Also
which
super good.
also super good, and like and all the keywords in that, like out of those, what is it, 5?
Yep.
Outmaneuver's probably the worst one, which is saying a lot because outmaneuver's pretty good.
I think it's better than reinforcements.
They're probably similar.
Yeah.
But outmaneuver will scave your bacon definitely once at least.
Especially with independent dodge.
Yes.
Yeah, this is really cool. I like the design space here. I like the fact that you have a choice of, I mean, she could play very differently depending on which one of these options you pick. So
yeah, she both those options feels like she really feels the flavor of like an assassin.
Yep.
Which to be honest, I do not think you could get the sort of assassin flavor down in Legion, but like sort of the top with bounty and reinforcements really feels the like you don't have a force user, I'm gonna go like kill something without a saber.
Yep.
And then the bottom is like, oh, you have a force user. Well, we're gonna go into Jedi Hunter mode and be able to just slice your Jedi in half.
Yep.
Which being able to choose that when you can see your opponent's list already is pretty good.
This for me, this answers the question: what if you could run a double bounty list where one of your bounty hunters was a force user?
Yes,
that's the thing you can do now.
Yeah. And then on top of all that goodness, she also comes with a 4th command card, which is actually a Count Dooku command card.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is called the Sith Will Rule. It's a Count Dooku card. It's a 3-pip, but it counts as a 2-pip when list construction. It only orders Count Dooku. It just says Count Dooku gains an aim token and a dodge token. Already amazing. And then after Count Dooku activates, if Asajj Ventress does not have a face-down order token, she activates. After she activates, if she has a face-up order token, flip it face down. If she does not have an order token, assign her a face-down order token. So basically, you can, if Dooku goes before Asajj has to go immediately after Dooku.
Yeah, this does not appear to be optional.
No, it is. I don't see it being optional. No.
Yep. Yeah, it's like Chewie's 1-pip with Luke that nobody ever uses, except this is with 2 Sith. So
Yep. I mean, and even if you don't bring Asajj, it's probably worth taking if you're just playing a Count Dooku list because you get an aim and a dodge on Count Dooku.
Yep.
So so if you build the list with both of them, and you play and you use this card, what 2-pip are you not putting in?
Double the fall.
No, I think you cut Asajj's 2-pip to recover 1.
Here we are. And this is the argument I want. Go ahead. Argue your points and I'll determine who's right.
All right.
Tim.
I think cutting Asajj's card like 2-pip is pretty harsh because especially if you want to run her with force push and force choke, 2 recoverable force upgrades. A recover on her is pretty awesome. As well as with her 1-pip, you probably want to be taking 4 dodges, which gives her a bunch of suppression. So that recover ends up being pretty crucial. That being said, double the fall will definitely win you games sometimes. So it's a tough card to pull out of your deck. But I still think if you are running Asajj, you do need that 2-pip, just basically for the recover only. And then the flamethrower is nice to have.
I think that it's important to keep in mind that when you play the 2-pip, you're assuming you build your list correctly, you're giving up a dodge with independent dodge in order to get that recover. And I also think the effect on double the fall is more unique and certainly more useful if you're up against another force user. Like if you've got Dooku and Asajj and your opponent has a force user and you kick their order token back,
they're dead.
Like they're dead.
That being said though, if you have Asajj and Dooku, like their force users probably dead anyways.
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, if you're struggling to kill force users with Dooku and Asajj, you probably aren't doing something right. Like, right. Like,
yeah.
Like I do. Yeah. Like if you get double the fall off with both of them on the board, yeah, that they're definitely dead. But I think even just the fact that you'd have two Makashi warriors on the board, like their force user either is dead or just like completely nerfed in their ability to do anything because they just can't get anywhere close to your two force users.
Yeah, that's fair. I think her 2-pip, while the free recover is good, especially if you're running 2 recoverable force powers. I think the timing can be a little awkward, but also just giving up that dodge is a reasonably significant cost.
That's fair. In the like, I mean, I built one list so far with this, and I have 2 medical droids in it, and also Magna Guards to Guardian Dooku. So that's kind of my like you give up the dodge, but you also like I am adding in a lot of medics, to try and and I have even considered like adding a third in, just to like make up for that.
Yep. Yeah, I think either choice is defensible. I would personally drop the recover card, but
that's fair.
I would also consider dropping the recover card. Sorry, Jay. If you're running like a super tactical droid and you want to take both of the super tactical droids 2 pips, especially if you're running like a B1 line and you want to run aggressive tactics or something like that, I think actually one of the benefits of Asajj, especially with how she has this independent dodge built in, and the fact that one of her command cards is basically a discard, I think one of the benefits is you can essentially play her almost at like quote unquote full power with just 1 command card. And you can fill in the rest of your command hand with other stuff and or make sure that you can trigger aggressive tactics and that independent dodge and stuff like that. So
I think that's all fair.
Yeah.
And then just mentioning like how to do like reverse sort your cards, like in CS, like B1s with the coordinate. Droid, is it droid shipper? Yeah. You just have a bunch of B1s, string them all together so they all get orders, and then you often like will have like some other unit at the end of that little chain, whether it be like a super tac or a magna squad or whatever, really any trooper at the end of that line will take that last order. You could even like put a comms reel on one of the B1s, you put like a tank or something at the end of that line, throw that order. And you either want to have all your orders down to 1 type of token, right? So that could be like Asajj with an operative, or like
to be operative,
or you could have like an account Dooku Asajj Ventress list, assuming like even if you don't get orders on either of them, and you have orders on everything else, you just have improv on Dooku or whatever, and then you can like no matter what you pull when you need it, you can just improv to the other.
Yep.
So you either need to sort down to 1 token type for every command card played, or down to 2 different tokens with like individual tokens with improv, and that gives you full order control.
You could also do multiple token types with improv if you have like 2 operative tokens. So I immediately thought when I saw Asajj of pairing her with Cad Bane, because Cad Bane also has independent dodge. And I think they just could potentially complement each other pretty well generally. Cad Bane has bounty, so you can get an extra bounty target there. He's got you can give him the gloves for like extra immobilize stuff and force push stuff into him or away from him or whatever with Asajj. But you have those 2 operative tokens. If you build a list out with like, and this is something that fits, you can essentially have like 6 beefy B1s, Asajj, Cad Bane, a unit of Magna Guards with the rocket, and then a T series. if you bounce, basically, like, even if Cad Bane can't relay his order to somebody or something like that, if you just bounce the T-Series order to the Magnus, the T-Series has improv. So then your order pool is always essentially either you bounce it back to the T-Series or you bounce it to the Magnus. And then your order pool is always 2 operatives and then either a command token or a special forces. So then if you have improv, you have perfect order control, right? Because it's
it when you want to pull the operative, right? If you have just 3 tokens, like you could, if you, it's like, well, I mean, in that case, what you do is you just make sure that, like, if you need to go with the T-Series or the Magnus early in the turn, you just
they're
make
the
sure
ones
they
with
have
the order. Yep.
Yeah, because you could, like, near the end of the turn be like, okay, now I want to go with whichever doesn't have the order, and then pull operative, improv, pull the other operative, and now you don't have order control. But that's like, it's manageable.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I think the fact that, I mean, people saw like her, I've seen some really seems to be very polarizing. Some people looked at this preview and were like, oh my gosh, she's so overpowered, 8 dice with Makashi mastery. And then other people are like, actually, she looks pretty bad. Like, she only has 5 health and 2 courage. You know, she doesn't surge at all. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
She actually looks pretty balanced to me. One thing I will say about the AMG releases, at least like since the Din Bobo wave, so basically everything after the battle forces, I feel like they've all been pretty balanced as far as the releases are concerned. And Gideon and Dark Troopers look pretty balanced too. So
yeah, I think, yes, agreed, right? And credit where credit's due. Like, those all look balanced. I think the thing that scares me is the battle forces. Like, in the, we don't know a ton about the remnants and Empire remnants, but basically what they're saying, it seems there could be some broken combinations in there. And so that's the only thing that makes me nervous, is that it does seem like they're paying attention to the units and that, they're coming out balanced, which is great. But then to throw them in battle forces that seem out of balance is a weird, like, it's, it just seems odd, but who knows, right? We don't know for sure.
We'll have to see the full rules for the remnant battle force too,
right?
But it does seem like you can make some, especially with like independent aim, if you do your positioning correctly on almost everything, seems like you can make some pretty crazy firepower lists. But actually, just, do you guys want to see how big a Dark Trooper is?
Yeah,
it's kind of silly, actually. So here's a Magna Guard right here, right? Normal size Magna Guard. This is a Dark Trooper.
Whoa.
This is just a normal size Dark Trooper.
For those of you listening, it's like a head above, and it's like everything's thick. It's a big,
it's just like, look at that chunky beef too. Like, I mean, the cape is like inflating the Magna Guard a little bit too.
He's a super chunker.
He's extra ridiculously chunky. Yeah.
Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just the guy on the ground. So you also have like, here, I'll keep my Magna Guard here. You've got, I think this is the unit leader. Here's the unit leader. Like, look at how big this dude is. Like, that's a Magna Guard.
Jeez. Good thing we have silhouettes.
I know, right? Well, and that makes models like this possible. And then here's the dude with the, somehow this rocket launcher's only range 2. I don't know how that's possible, but like, look at the different size difference between these. This is an RPS, and then like, look at how thick this rocket launcher is compared to the RPS.
Like, it's like he's got 3 RPSs.
I know, like, all strapped together. Like, it's, and then let's see. Here's the cricket bat. There's the cricket bat. Very, very cricket batty.
That's a cricket bat.
That's a cricket bat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So they're big. I'm very impressed by the miniatures, but they're very large.
Listen, that's one thing AMG does really, really well. All the miniatures have been beautiful. And yeah, I think we should definitely give them credit where credit's due. Like Kyle said, the units have been super balanced. Like, yeah, it's not bad.
I will say, when you're assembling these guys, for those that are getting these, I think it's next week officially, right?
Yeah, the 17th.
Look at how small this connection point is.
Oh yeah.
You will absolutely, same with the other guy on the rocket. It was one of those situations where I glued him and I thought he was stable, and then like I stood him up on his base, and then I came back a couple hours later and he was like,
Yeah.
So make sure that you lean those. I ended up being able to fix them, but especially the dudes on the and their leg joints have really thin connection points too, which makes them posable, which is great. But it also means that like you have to sit there holding them for a while.
Yeah.
So make sure you like brace them with things, is all I'm saying,
Well,
when you put them together, or they're gonna like, yeah.
Cool.
Yep. All right. Any other Asajj thoughts?
Nope.
What do you run on her?
Force push.
Well, yeah.
And then into the fray.
Okay.
And then I put choke and left it at that.
Just leave that second training blank.
Yeah. What else could you put on there?
I think if you have the points, you could consider tenacity. I definitely don't think it's an auto take, simply because she only has 5 health and she doesn't have a way to like wound herself or anything. So like once you've taken a hit, it's no guarantee that that hit's going to be exactly 1 wound. She could be on like 2 wounds after the first time she gets shot.
Yep.
And then you've got tenacity active, but then she's very much within like random schmucks punching her to death range. And I don't think you want to be in a place where you have any sort of plan where Asajj takes any wounds, personally.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What about defensive stance?
She's probably not going to be taking that many like dodge actions.
I mean, once she's in, I could see it.
Like it's possible, but it's I like.
I mean, you take the dodge, get the 2 dodges, and then attack.
Right.
And then use your dodges to improve your dice.
Yeah, I think it's great in that situation, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's at least a defensible alternative to tenacity if you have the points.
I also think like she has like a few training options that are like defensible. She also does have relentless. Now she doesn't surge, so her saber throw is
it's bad. No, it's bad. Don't even say it's bad. especially with the new cover rules where like you're with saber throws, even you're bouncing off heavy cover. That's a rebel trooper shot. 4 black dice with no surge. That's a naked rebel trooper unit.
So my like, especially if you're running like going for the double bounty thing, I think it's a little bit more defensible. Like if someone's running away and you just sort of like chuck a saber after them, in which case like saber throw and hunter is like, there's a world where you do it. I'm not saying it's good, but it's like I'm just looking for all the different options.
Hunter, I think that's actually interesting, or at least as interesting as tenacity, because you don't have to be wounded. Yep. She's somewhat likely to be attacking multi-wound models anyway. And you don't have to, unlike with defensive chance, you don't have to take an action to get that free token.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
Like her 2 modes, whether that be go after force users or like randos without a saber, hunter benefits both.
Yep.
So I kind of think in that case you probably just take tenacity to the same points. But
yeah.
Right, like because you're gonna probably take a wound at some point, and then tenacity benefits you hitting anything. But
I wonder, is there a world? So here's the problem with her too, right? Is that she doesn't have Master of the Force. So anything that taps is going to be a problem.
You got to recover it. Yeah.
And so I wonder if you only have 1 that taps, so you have Force Push, right? Because that's like an auto on every Force user. I wonder if you use that second slot for something like Fear, and then if you're going to do the build and then she has Demoralize too. So now, you're walking up and you're giving 2 suppression to units, and their actions are going to be reduced a little. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean the like not having Massive Force, I actually think leans more into tapping force abilities, because like if you're going to recover, that's only going to be done with recover, so you get both of them back at once.
Yeah. And choke gives you a lot of objective play.
Yeah.
And like like especially if you're running other Dooku, like double force push, double choke is just that's a drug.
Yeah, I just worry about that tap.
I know.
I don't know you're gonna have as many opportunities for recover once she's like, you're gonna have
Well,
to be
I
real
mean,
particular, you know.
but
There's
like
actually a couple ways to get around that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got her 2-pip, right?
Yep.
Which I know I just advocated for not taking.
Yep.
You then also have the super tactical 3-pip, which you can put a
Mhm.
relay on a droid trooper unit to bounce it to Ventress and then actually use the free recover from that because it's not worded like their 2-pip is. So yeah, there's actually a couple ways to give her free recovers when you're not just straight up taking the recover action.
Yep.
I mean,
I could
those
see
very specific list though to get you there, right?
I could potentially see reflexes since she can use dodges like aims.
Oh yeah.
It feels like that's an effect that you can kind of get from the training slot anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot less unique of an effect than choke, but I could see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I hope that I hope that the shipping. I know the shipping is always fast, but I hope it's like extra fast because of that time period between the 17th.
I mean, listen. If I'll tell you what, if they do what they've been doing, I'll say this too, since they've taken over, stuff has been in real early. Like I've been sitting on Gideon and Dark Troopers for like a week and a half, right? Like so
Yep.
I mean, if they do the same thing with her, I will absolutely have it in everybody's hands on the day. But yeah, they've been good about that, so that makes me hopeful.
Awesome. Yeah, because there's no 11-day rule anymore, so
which fine.
I think it's fine too, especially if they're giving us previews this far out.
Yeah.
You know, this is more than a month. That if you want to proxy Asajj and practice with her, like you can do it now.
Yeah.
Like this is her entire kit that they previewed for us. So just use them all mini and play with Asajj. Like do some massage practice. Don't be like, oh, she's only coming out.
Did
with
you
6
just
days.
say massage practice?
Asajj.
Damn it, Kyle.
Now every time I see this, I'm gonna be like massage Ventress.
You know what? You know what? We'll do a all art of force choke that's just called massage practice.
Oh boy.
We're treading some thin ice here, I think.
Don't even care. It's funny.
I know it is very funny. It goes right with that hit with chair pose.
Yeah.
All right. Her expression too, by the way. Yeah, this is like I love the facial expression on this mini. She's got the knitted angry eyebrows. It's like she could not be more pissed off at whatever she's about to slap with that chair.
Yeah. Is it Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, probably. All right. You guys got any other thoughts?
Probably none that I can say out loud, but right, Tim?
Yep. Great.
I'll just say that I'm glad that they went with the full skirt outfit instead of the obnoxious yoga pants that she has in like the early Clone Wars.
Very fair.
This looks much more Sith-like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Warrior monk.
Yep, exactly.
Oh god, I thought real interesting, and then we can go. When we saw the early previews and they said we got those leaks of the box and it said 4 cards, I thought she was going to get like a flaw card or something, because then she, like during the Clone Wars, she has some like second guessing of
she like betrays Dooku.
Yeah.
Well, I mean they all betray each other, but
that's what the Sith do, I guess. But
you can't fire me, I quit.
I
the Sith version of that, basically.
Yeah, I mean, because like Chewie's the only one that really did this, right? And a Yoda, I guess. Yoda and Chewie were the only ones that have done
like a teamwork card.
Cards for other, cards for other. I mean, because you don't even have to have her to play this card.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
Really,
space.
Because if you just ignore all the after account Dooku activates, right? You could just give him a dodge and aim.
This card reads Dooku gets a dodge and aim, which is a pretty good effect for a Force user.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's cool design space. I'd love to see more like existing characters get command cards in newer packs.
Yeah.
Even if those packs aren't specifically them.
Yeah, but even if they did something like this where it's like it's a 2 for, where it's like, okay, this half is if you just run Dooku, you could still use this half.
Yep.
But if you run him with Asajj, you get both. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the thing that's missing from like the Chewie cards, I think, is like Chewie's cards do literally nothing.
Yeah.
He's not paired with whoever he's supposed to be paired with.
Right.
Whereas this is great for Dooku, whether you're running Asajj or not. So yeah, I think that's cool.
Agreed.
All right. Well, let's close this thing out. We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jay, and I'm always second.
And I'm Timbo, and I know this to be true.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.